All right. Wow. That live event, that Apple event, oh my gosh. I was not expecting that, honestly. I was sitting there talking with family about it, and I was just blown away. I was part of a kind of a reaction to the last event back in the fall, and dip- I was a little disappointed in that one. But this one, like, my expectations for that one last fall were like right here, but they ended up becoming down here. But this one, I went in there with a very small expectations, but they just blew them out of the water. I was blown away with how amazing that Apple event was. And I mean, I kept saying to my family member that was watching with me that I'm going to be broke this year with all this stuff I want to buy. The kind of goes with being a content creator, but oh my gosh, like I was just in awe. Like I'm still sitting there on like cloud 9 with all that was announced, all the improvements, and the fact that they even announced a new iPad. I haven't had an iPad since iPad Mini 2. Hey, Jeremiah, thanks for coming, man. I appreciate you. I really do appreciate you coming in. But yeah, I haven't had an iPad since iPad Mini 2. And I remember I sold it because I thought I'm not using this, it's just kind of catching dust. But then seeing the new iPad Air, I was just like, oh my gosh. Hey, Angie, thank you for coming out and looking at this. I know. I got to give, I was saying on Twitter, Angie, that I guess I'm gonna have to buy into the new iPad. I'm gonna have to rebuy it back into the iPad family because that new iPad Air, oh my gosh. I just I can't even begin to describe how amazing it looked. And the graphics on it, whew, that was speaking my language. My family can attest that even ever since I was a kid, I've always been obsessed with electronics. Like, a little example would be like when we go to Target or Walmart, I would always tell my mom, you know where I'll be. I will be in the electronics, and that's where she always found me. I was always in the electronics, whether it be playing the video game consoles they had that people could try, or just looking at different tech. I that was my problem with the iPad is that I bought it more for leisure than for help. I had a lot of games on it, and I was actually using it more for gaming than I was actually for what I initially intended on buying it for, and that was for school. But oh man, and honestly, yeah, I see. I got Jeremiah. I mean, excuse me, not Jeremiah. Jerome. I bought the MacBook that I'm using right now is one that I bought last fall. And honestly, after seeing that, like I think in my mind, like, well, it looks like I'm gonna be broke. I'm gonna have to buy the new Mac Studio because that just looked amazing. I mean, and I was not surprised when they said it was $4,000. And oh my gosh, yeah, I remember you saying that. I remember you saying that that's where you got your starting with your editing. And I don't know how you even did that because honestly, like when it comes to editing my videos, like I gotta be on a computer. But beggars can't be choosers. As you said before, because you got one of those refurbished ones, right, Angie? And those things always go like hotcakes, especially on the Apple website. So, but I just don't know how you did it because I've always had a laptop when it comes to editing my videos, even before I got onto YouTube and I was kind of just editing videos like photos and everything for different church functions. I still thought I got to edit this on a computer. I cannot do this on an iPad. I take that back. I think I edited a few short videos on my iPad, but after that, I was like, hey, this is painful. Like this is hard. So iMovie that's what I started out on. Like honestly, I have nothing against iMovie. iMovie is just so to me, it's so much fun. I love how they can really just make it user friendly for you. So Jerem, so Jerome, so JJ, excuse me, says my iPhone 13 Pro Max I got from the company was insane. Wasn't expecting it to be so good. Yeah, when I got my iPhone 12 Pro Max, this thing was so because I upgraded to this from an iPhone 10. And so you can probably tell that, I was going to see a drastic change in like the camera, the user quality, and just in general, like I was just blown away at the comparison. I still have it on my phone. I haven't released it yet, but I did a side by side comparison of the video quality on the iPhone 10 in comparison to the iPhone 12 Pro Max, and I was just blown away. Aaron, thank you, man, for coming by. I appreciate you. I know you're not the biggest Apple fan, but I appreciate you coming by. I know that you and we've talked about tech quite a bit, but oh man, yeah, I can see that it would take a little while. Honestly, I remember when I was editing those few little these videos I edited on my old iPad were only like a minute or two long. So, and it was just me just kind of dinkering around for different church functions. But it still took a little bit because, like, you had to adjust the clips and everything. You had to use your finger and all this. And so I can see how that would take a little while to edit. And that's fine. And see, I used Adobe Premiere Pro. I've heard great things that people are still able to use iMovie. I heard great things about Final Cut, and I hear great things about DaVinci Resolve. So it just kind of depends on your preference, really. I kind of like, JJ, he said I can't use iMovie. I have to use Adobe Premiere Pro or Final Cut Pro, and that's how I am. Like I'm so used to Adobe Premiere that, like, going back to me personally, going back to iMovie would be like going back to the dinosaur age. That's just me, but like that's just how I feel, honestly. But so you had the Mac M1, and you added about five more external. You understand this as a content creator. You gotta keep adding more memory, but I actually had a conversation with my brother. He was wanting me to play a game with him on my MacBook, and he would use his MacBook. He's like, goodness sakes. He's like, how much memory do you have? I'm like, dude, I'm a content creator. Like, I have apps on my computer that I use for my content creation. Like, that's the life of a content creator. Like, you're consistently adding features. You're consistently like having to go through and like clear out things just because you need that memory, that space, because you have videos and so much more. Yeah. So JJ, I don't know if you're aware that Aaron and I, we've known each other. We've been friends since 2007. So like me and Aaron, we've been friends for a long time. I'm surprised we haven't, like, metaphorically speaking, I'm surprised we haven't killed each other yet, because we sometimes have gotten into some huge arguments over the littlest things, but we are two of the closest friends. And honestly, like, he's been one of my go-to guys. Like, I would go to him for advice. He'd go to me for advice. But yeah. Yeah, all the day long. Apple all the day long. I'm pro Apple. So Final Cut Pro is by far the best and most simplistic. I've heard good things about Final Cut Pro, but I really like Adobe Premiere. I am a fan of it. I actually edit another family member's YouTube videos on Adobe Premiere. To me, it's simple, but I've heard good things about Final Cut Pro, but honestly, and he's just saying, hey, to JJ. So JJ says, Anthony, buy ScanDisk Extreme external HDD. They are small, light, and extremely fast for transferring files. And that's so true. Oh my gosh. I remember, and this is going to carbon date me a little bit. So for those watching, bear with me. I'm a millennial, but I remember when we had dial-up internet, and I at the time, like I remember the old classic noises that you'd have to sit through just to hear it connect to the internet, and you had to get off the internet, someone had to make a phone call, like, and I remember all of that. And before I finish that, I have a good friend of mine that he just came on backstage. His name is Mark's. His name is Mark. He was just taking a little bit to set up, so I'm going to bring him on stage. Mark, what's going
No.
on, man?
Hey, thanks for having me, man.
Oh my gosh, was that an amazing event or what?
Yes, definitely, dude. Who expected that?
I was, like I said, when I first got on the live stream, I was telling, like, because you and I, we were part of this reaction live stream that you hosted last
Yeah.
fall, and we were both there. It was a very underwhelming event. They announced like a new Apple Watch, which only had like a few new features, and they announced a few other things, but everyone was like completely disappointed. We were just frustrated. We were just like, what the heck, Apple? And then this one is just like an atomic bomb.
Yeah, this one, I was expect. So if we were to get a new Mac, I thought maybe like a higher end Mac. I guess this is what that one is, right? This one is that replacement, right? But for a whole new other chip, so early. I think at least to me in the transition, then I remember we're already in year 2, just about to hit that 2-year mark, and I was thinking whatever they announced, I'm like, okay, so would it be? No, they wouldn't put M1. I was thinking M1 Pro and then maybe M1 Max. That would be in that one. But
Yeah.
then Ultra comes out.
Oh my gosh. When I saw the Ultra, I was like, see, now that just makes me want to buy the new computer completely. And then when they announced the Mac Studio, I was like, and I saw the graphics of it and everything, and just the Retina displays and everything, I was just like, I want so bad. Like, I just give it to me now. And I kept using this GIF on Twitter saying that from Fry from Futurama saying, "Shut up and take my money."
Yeah,
And
I mean, if I had money to take, I mean, what do you think I can get for a kidney, man? I hear that you can go with just one of those bad boys.
oh my gosh! So I'm going to go back to the chat here just for a sec. Yes, Aaron, we are both have a tendency in the past. We're better. We're not as headstrong as we were, but we used to be. So Mark, I was talking before you came on stage. I was talking about how I kind of carbon dated myself. How like I remember the days of dial-up internet and how you had to wait for that little noise to connect to the internet, and then
Oh yeah,
and
the
then
old
you
school
had to,
tones.
yeah. Then if
I
someone
remember
needed
that.
to make a phone call, they're like, "Hey, get off the internet. I gotta make a phone call." You're like, "Okay, okay." And then JJ, he said, "I remember downloading a song. It took the entire night on LimeWire, and I remember
Yeah,
LimeWire."
that's if it downloaded.
And
That
if you
would be
didn't
unless
get
you wake
viruses.
up and it was 35%, 40% done, and then I'm like, why did you stop? What happened? Someone probably got up in the middle of the night and then flushed the toilet, and then you got disconnected.
Yeah, and you also ran the risk if you got viruses, because the LimeWire was chock full of viruses. Like, yeah, you got
Yeah,
free music, and
yeah.
I didn't know that until like years later. My brother and I, like, we downloaded all sorts of songs, and then someone like years later, like, yeah, that stuff had it was like chock full of viruses. And
It's because it's such open platform, and I mean, like, that argument of the more secure something is, the less accessible it is, and exactly the opposite. The more accessible it is, the very little to none security that you'd have with something like that. LimeWire was a perfect example. I think. Remind me if did Napster have the same thing? Was that also user submitted, or was there at least
yeah,
some
that
vetting
was a
going
user.
on?
I remember Napster, and that was a user submitted thing, I believe so.
All
And
user. Okay.
oh man,
Yes. Hi,
that's
Andy.
just that's taking me back, dude, like to high school days. And like, you knew you were cool in high school in the days when I was in high school, when you had the portable Discman CD player, and it had you had like
Yeah.
the mix CDs like of different songs. They're like, "Oh, dude, can I borrow your mix CD, dude? Because you have some sick
You got good
songs."
songs, man. Yeah. Can
And
you
then
make me a CD?
exactly. I remember. Do you remember the first iPod Shuffle? It looked like a gum stick.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. My sister won one of those at some raffle somewhere. I forgot what it was, but I think she gave it to my dad, and then my dad took forever to open it. So I'm like, okay, I can put this to use. Put 50 songs on it or whatever it was at the time. Like, was it half a gig?
It was like something like that. It was only like 50 songs at a time, and then you had to
Something
like,
like that.
and you
I'm like,
could
I could do
scroll.
that. I can
And
listen to
then
20
like
songs over and
I
over.
just remember like, do you remember for those watching? So Aaron, he said, for those of us just joining, can you give us a quick rundown? So Mark, do you want to give us a quick rundown of what they all the you can give us a few things, and I'll add a few things into what Apple.
Let's see if I can remember it in chronological. I think the very first thing was iPhone, right? Or aside from Apple TV, like, oh, here's everything that's coming. We signed a bunch of Hollywood famous celebrity people that you should recognize. Da, da, da,
Yeah.
da, da. And then it was that new green color was confirmed for at least for the 13 and the 13 Pro. I didn't hear anything about the Mini getting it or the Pro Max getting it, but at least that one of the Pros. I'm excited to see how that almost like a OD green, reminds me of that midnight green that the 11 Pro had in that stainless steel finish. Finally we're getting a halfway, what do they call it, mid-cycle refresh, or at least a little something to get excited about. So that was the first thing. What was the second thing?
They talked about, oh man, they talked about so much. Like I'm just like, I know one of the things they talked about was the M1 Ultra chip.
That was at the very end, though.
Almost that was at the very end.
So you skipped iPhone SE with 5G and the newest chip, and a better improved battery, I guess, efficiency because software. I think it has the same battery.
Yeah,
iPad
and so
Air.
I tweeted on there. I'm like, so the new iPhone SE is like the perfect high schooler's iPhone.
Perfect entry. Perfect. Yeah, it's to me it sounds like too good. I'm like, what the heck? Like I got ripped off with this 12 Pro Max in 2020. Know, right? Yeah, what the hell?
I mean, and if we're going back, if we're talking about being ripped off on things, when I was in high school, we had the flip phones, like the Razors, and all we didn't even have the smartphones. And so these high school kids nowadays are just really living the life of luxury. Like, they can go on Facebook, they can do all sorts of stuff. But yeah.
And get bullied and feel bad about themselves like the rest of us do all the time. Yeah. I think iPad Air also got, so the SE and the iPad Air both got 5G. Oh, iPad Air got the M1.
Yes.
And center, did they give it center stage? I don't remember that.
They did. I think they said that all iPads were going to start being capable of having center stage now, which I tweeted after that when they announced it. I'm like, well, it looks like I have to buy back into the iPad family again, because like I haven't had an iPad since the iPad Mini 2. Like that's how long ago it was, and I sold it because I wasn't using it.
Yeah, did you see the tweet I put out? I found someone that was complaining about oh, don't tell me my iPad is going to become obsolete. I just paid $1,200 or $1,300 on it in which I forget when they bought it, like within the last year, like less than within a year ago. I'm like, dude, you're telling me this one that I have here, though I did get the new white Magic Keyboard case because I can't help myself and I have a problem. This one is the 2020 12.9 inch, 1 terabyte. So this was about what, $1,700 plus the Magic Keyboard case, which is another $350 plus tax plus the Apple Pencil that I bought 4 months after it came out in 2020, which was 8 or 9 months before the M1s came out. And the M1s with center stage and with the mini LED screen and the M1, I'm like, oh, come on.
Oh my gosh! Like when I saw the iPad Air, I was like, oh my gosh! Like I want that now. Like I was just like, that just looks, the Retina display alone would just it sold me. Like I was just like, and I was so flabbergasted, and my jaw was. I was just sitting there, just like, I want that. I need that. I want that. Give it to me.
What size is it? What size is that? Is it a 10-inch display?
I don't remember if they even announced what it was, but I was just so blown away at how gorgeous it looked. And so
is it me, or did the colors get like more like pastel-y or like matte?
Yeah. Yeah. But I liked that with that. I honestly, some people were just like, I don't know how I feel about the green on the iPhone. Green is like my second favorite color, and so like I thought that green just looked really cool. Like I was impressed with how cool it looked, like especially in comparison to the the 2021 fall event when they announced a few new colors, and no one liked the colors. Like I personally hated the colors of the new iPhones. I was thoroughly disappointed in them, honestly. And so when I saw that, I was like, okay, I see what you're doing here, Apple. You're starting off small, but but it's already, they're starting off small in the event, but they're already like, it's already a big drop because that's one color I think that people have been wanting for so long was green.
Yeah, the last time I remember that we had it was the Pro Max, and I don't know if they. When was the last time we had it in a base model phone? Was it did the 12s get it? No, right?
I,
I
I,
want to say I want to say 5C was
yeah,
when that's the one I can remember. The
I
plastic one,
re- yeah, I think that's about the time that I remember that they first came out with the green color,
like a
and
mint.
I thought that was cool. Like,
Yeah,
cool.
no, that whole part of it again. That was the one of the first entry level phones when they started branching and separating them, offering different tiers. Was after that, or with the 5S, I think it was right.
Yeah.
That was the first time we had two models to pick from:
Hmm.
the plastic and the stainless.
So how do you feel about that? Do you like the fact that the SE is going to be all glass, or do you like having the metal back? Because I know for me personally, like, so I'll give a great example. When I got my iPhone 10, everyone whoever had the iPhone 10 or knows about it knows this frustration in that it was very slick on the back, and I had
Yeah.
literally just bought this thing like a week or two beforehand, and I was getting out of the car from taking my dog to this trail, um, and
Well, the more oil you have on your hands, I think that was the
yeah,
trade off. Do you want fingerprints or do you want grip on your phone? You know what I mean? That
exactly. And so I remember I was getting out of the car, and my phone slipped out of my. I was wearing some jersey shorts, and it slipped out of my car, out of my pocket, landed
oh
onto the asphalt, and just shattered, just cracked. And I was
oh
just like,
man.
no. And I was so frustrated because like it was a new phone. I hadn't been able to afford to get a case yet because everyone knows that, obviously you're paying a lot to get the phone, but then to add a case on top of it, you're looking, especially a decent case, you're looking at least spending another 50 to $100
Yeah,
for it.
mine were like $90. Yeah, $100.
And so the entire time I had the iPhone 10, it, it had a cracked back screen. I remember I got through Xfinity Mobile, and so I got this protection plan saying like, oh, well, if you drop it, the Apple can get it fixed. And so I called Xfinity about it. I was like, hey, I dropped my phone. And so they're like, yeah, well, you'll need to go to Apple. And so I get down to Apple and down at Farmington Station in Farmington, Utah, and the guy's just like, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, like, but this is not something we can fix. This is like this. He's like, you
Yeah,
would be spending more money to get this fixed than it's worth. He's like, I'm just gonna be honest with you. He's like, it's
that's
just a
how it is
common.
with almost anything tech. Just
Yeah.
about. You might as well not. Got to get a new
And
one.
so I was so frustrated I canceled it. But yeah, so I wanted to get your opinion on that. And anyone in the chat that understands this, you can comment in the chat. But do you like the metal back on the iPhone, or do you like having the glass and plastic?
So one of my favorite designs was the 5S, and specifically in gold, because that's that was one of the main reasons. I'm like, oh, a new brand new color. Like heck yeah, now you can tell this is the new one, and that boxy design of it. That was one of my favorites. Aside from that, like I mentioned, like with me, like I smudge everything almost all the time. There's pretty much nothing really that I can do about. There's only so much that you can do, or also like willingness to carry around. Let me see, where is it? These little screen wipe uh
I
spots
remember.
where they don't really work that the best, because I guess you need like a spray. Anyways, it's a lot of upkeep, and really you would just need to like have that one clean wipe and then put a case in it right away, and don't ever deal with it. So one of the thing I think was Otter boxes. Most of the time I
Uh-huh.
would go with OtterBox or Life Proof, were my go-to case guys.
You know,
So it
I
would,
so for my iPhone 6, I've had some bad luck with iPhones in the past just because I'm kind of accident prone. Like I'm not as accident prone as I used to be. But so when the iPhone 6 came out, I got it. I was on my own plan. I was actually out here living in Utah on my own because my mom had moved to Oklahoma for a year, and my brother was up in Portland, Oregon. And so I was walking out of my apartment one morning. I felt this. I had this thought go through my mind to put my phone in my pocket because I was going to drop it if I didn't. I decided to ignore that thought, and I was locking the door, and sure enough, my iPhone slipped out of my hand and went right there, and hit the cement, cracked the whole half screen of the phone. And I hadn't even bought a case yet for it. And so I remember, and that was the week of Thanksgiving of 2015. And I remember I bought an OtterBox case after that, and then I got it fixed. It cost me like $120 just to get the phone replaced and fixed. But I remember my brother who was who was living in Portland. He was moving actually he was moving out to Oklahoma around Christmas time, and we drove out to see my mom for Christmas. And he saw my case, and he saw that had the little clip thing. He called me an old man for having that. He's like, he's like, that is something that that's something that retired people have. And so I was
retired people are smart.
Huh?
Retired people are smart.
They are smart, and that's what
they know what's up.
So I had that case for the longest time, and I finally upgraded my phone. And so obviously when I upgraded, I think I got the 8, and it just didn't work. That case didn't work anymore. So let's see. What else did they talk about? They talked about, we talked about the SE. What else did they mention in the Apple event?
Let's see here. The display has the display has a center stage too. I think they threw that in there.
Yeah.
And additional ports. So the I/O is crazy in the studio in that screen combo, the display combo.
Yeah, the thing about it is like the thing that I've noticed about it is that Apple's so good about at least sorry, my mind's kind of scattered because I was just so blown away with this Apple event.
Yeah.
With that reaction with that event we had that we reacted to last fall, it was a little underwhelming. And I remember I was a little disappointed because I was waiting to hear something about the new iOS update or something. But at least Apple has always been good about improving the Retina displays on their products, and that's one thing that we've always had a guarantee with Apple is that when they present a new product or a line of products, they always improve the Retina display and the graphics on the product. And that's one thing I've always been impressed about with Apple is that they know how to suck people in, how to lure them in with that Retina display.
Yeah, what were they? I think some people wanted to get. Okay, you wouldn't be able to get more higher resolution without more price, and I think it's pretty expensive as it is. I mean, I was talking to my my godbrother earlier, and he was like, no iMac Pro then, and I said, well, that one was intended to be a stopgap, so it was supposed to just hold you over until my guess because they had it planned, who knows however many years in advance, that this was eventually what was going to happen, so that 27-inch display, 27-inch iMac, way better, faster, everything else is boom, boom, boom. To me, I'm like, okay, so here's their realization, their replacement here. Now forget about the iMac Pro. This is what we were intending for you all along. I mean, unless they're telling the truth about the just one more device to go, I think, could they have one more thing up their sleeve? I mean, what could they now the question is everything. Can you fit that Mac Studio into that display, or maybe into a 32-inch display like some people would want to go? And if they do accomplish it, how much are they going to charge for that?
Yeah,
I think this is already a pretty big package. This is what, $2,000 to $4,000 starting.
Yeah, and see, that's the thing. I've had this conversation with people in the past where they throw such a fit. They're like, "Oh, we don't like Apple products because they're so expensive." And I just tell them they're expensive for a reason because I'll admit I'm pro Apple. Anyone who knows me knows I'm pro Apple. I had an Android for maybe a year. It was the HTC Evo 4G, and the thing crapped out after a year. And I went back to Apple. I got the iPhone 5, and I was completely satisfied and happy. But I always tell people they're expensive for a reason. They put quality products in these devices. They don't want them crapping out. And then there are all these people but they always make sure that they I can't even remember what people say. They always talk about how they like make them so they don't last as long. I'm like, first of all, that's a myth. Like that's never been proven that Apple actually does that. And maybe they do it, maybe they don't. But at the same time, everyone knows that technology wears out. I mean,
Yeah, that's inherent of the just technology of technology. Like that's
yeah. So before I got this MacBook, I was using a MacBook Pro mid 2015, and yeah, that thing, and my family still has it, and it's still working like a champ. But the battery doesn't stay charged as long, and
yeah.
it doesn't, perform as well. But that's just because of its age. That's
And
pretty.
Intel for sure too. I'm sure. I mean, this is one of the reasons I went into so much debt for me to replace my 2012 that I had, my 2012 15-inch with Intel, that I wanted. The only way to get the maximum amount of RAM was to get the M1 Max. I don't do like drawings or renderings or anything like that would necessitate like the GPU necessarily. I mean, of course, sure, it's nice to have, but my main thing was to, that being traumatized, for the lack of a better word, of doing DJing professionally, where I wrote out a quote and someone hired me, and there's money on the line, plus reputation and potential for future business for this person's graduation, or a double sweet 16, or whatever the event is, and you're being trusted and being paid money to do this, and then music stops, the program skips, stutters, freezes, your computer shuts down. I'm like,
Mhm.
man. So because I don't want that to ever happen again, and future proofing, I was like, you know what? Let me get that 64 gig in this thing. And I'm sure that it is overkill. I mean, that's kind of what you want when you're buying technology, at least if you want it to last. Like, and I don't expect it to have the same problems that they had with Intel, but even still, that they're made that much better. Like, well, again, these machines have only been out for a couple months now, but so far so good. No one's really experiencing anything that can't be fixed with an over-the-air update, or further optimization. Like, the hardware is solid.
Yeah. One sec. So we got another person that's in the backstage. He's one of my mods. I became friends with him a little while ago, and his name is JJ, but he also goes by just Jeroming. Hey
What's
JJ, how
good,
are
guys?
Yo.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yep.
Good stuff. Hope you can understand me. I'm Scottish, just so you
you?
know,
Uh
full blown.
oh.
Uh-oh. Man, don't worry about it. You'll be safe. Safe, safe,
So
safe.
Mark, JJ, before he came on, he had a comment that he said, "You look like the shopkeeper in Cyberpunk." He said that
You
you look
look.
like the shopkeeper in Cyberpunk.
Oh,
I
me.
said your setup's so cool. You look like a shopkeeper in Cyberpunk again.
I haven't played the game, but I like that. I know that's a compliment. That sounds. I appreciate it, man.
It is, man. It is.
I heard they were plagued with a lot of problems, which is one of the reasons. I mean, aside from me not really playing PC games, but
They
that
just
whole deal
released
where
the
people were pissed off that they dropped the ball on that.
Yeah, they just released the whole update. Well, basically the whole new game, 60 gigabytes. So they
Yeah,
fixed everything
crazy.
basically. So I finished it. I didn't have any problems, so I didn't get all the trouble that other people had. So
Careful they don't take all your real money with virtual money, man. Careful.
oh no, I behave as much as I can at least.
Yeah.
So Annette said, "Hey fellas, Annette, thank you for stopping by." And then going down in the chat. So I wanted to bring up this one. Girl with Angie said, "My husband still uses an iPad with the spin wheel. He holds thousands of songs. He won't get rid of it." And see, that's the thing, is like there's a lot of people who, yeah, obviously, like, I have a 12 Pro Max. And when the iPhone 13 came out, I was like, it's only a few updates. Like, I'm not gonna upgrade. Like, I don't see any point, and I still don't see any point to even get the green color. Like, even though as much as I like that green color, like, I just don't see the point in it. And so I just want to get you guys taken. Like, how do you feel about? Because like I knew, especially like within my church, there was a guy that was pro Apple, and I remember when I had the iPhone 5, and he had the iPhone 5, and then when the iPhone 5S came out, it only had a few new features. Mark, you talked about it a little bit earlier,
Mhm.
but he upgraded from the iPhone 5 to the iPhone 5S, and I just thought in my mind like that, and he didn't even get the gold color. Like, he got the same
Oh
color as
man.
the other one, and so I just thought in my mind like, well, you kind
What
of
were
wasted.
what were even the spec bumps? Was it like a improved camera sensor or the ISP? Maybe I don't remember what the specs were.
Maybe the storage and camera probably. I would say.
Storage, camera. I think
don't
they had
know
a
what
few
it
new
was.
filters for the camera.
I haven't had an iPhone. I haven't had an iPhone since iPhone 2 or 3, I think.
Yeah,
Oh wow.
I mean,
I
I was at OnePlus for a while, which are really good. They had really good cameras, and then I just got was it Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra
Oh,
5G, and
I'm sorry to
then
hear that.
I bought. It's been good. It's a camera. It's all about the camera, man. I just use it for camera. I don't do anything else with my phone. It just sits there gathering dust. And then I got a new job, and they sent me an iPhone Pro Max 13. I didn't ask for a phone. It's essentially just an iPod because I don't even have a SIM card in it. So I just make videos and
Yeah,
stuff with it.
one of the first things for me, because my first one of my first Apple products that I purchased myself was the iPod Nano, because music, right? So I was like, okay,
Oh
here we go.
yes.
Now we're getting into that with the black front and the silver, mirror silver finish on the back. I said, okay, all right. I even still kept it. One of the few iPods or devices that you could do it to, that little like fancy smooth velvety little sleeve that it came in. I
Oh
kept that.
yeah,
I would put it
yeah.
in that, and then that in that little pocket, that little fifth pocket that you have, and
Yeah.
because the charger and the headphone jack were under on the bottom, right next to
Mm.
each other, so I would be able to do that. I'm like, oh heck yeah, I don't want any scratches. Then from there, the iTouch, and then I think the iPhone 4 was my first iPhone, but not my first phone. It was actually my fourth phone. I think Anthony knows this. Sidekick 2 was my first one.
I know
Then
Okay.
sidekicks.
you remember that one? Then the one of the Sprint, like the $20, free with the family plan, red Sprint flip phone. So I had to learn that after learning the full keyboard, which was really really hard, very very hard. But the one-handed texting was nice. That
I
was cool.
liked I started off with, I'm going to show my age now. I don't even want to. When the Nokia, the
Yeah.
one with Snake, the 3310, I had
Oh
that.
yeah,
And
Nice.
then when the Matrix came out, they had the flip phone. Then I had
yeah.
that.
Or no, the one extending
Yeah, the extended
the
one.
antenna,
And
yeah.
then they
One
brought out
piece.
the Nokia N95, and that was the first hour camera phone. That was a beast. And I left that in a hotel in London. I totally forgot
Oh,
about it. So I had to buy a new phone, and I ended up in the first ever Windows phone I
Mhm.
had. And I had that for quite a while, to be honest.
how much did the phone that you left cost? What did that one go for?
The N95, that was about 300, £400, so about
Oh,
$500 at a time.
Do you guys
damn.
remember the Motorola Razor and how everybody's like, "Oh man, I gotta get the Motorola
That
Razor"?
was
It's so
horrible phone, man. It was so
Yeah.
flimsy. A
That
lot of my
was
friends
it's a
had it, and
gimmick.
it broke so easily. I was just like, damn, you just get ripped off.
We love gimmicks, don't we? I mean, like I've told Anthony, and you probably heard it too. I'm like, I got when it like a new color would come out, or a
Yeah,
new design, or a new screen size, like the 6 Plus. Boom, sold me.
yeah.
How many people shop like that, right?
Uh-huh.
It's a designer brand. It's yeah, everyone needs a phone, but we want also to flex on people or to have a flashy thing or the status symbol, and it's a piece of jewelry, it's an accessory and a necessity all bundled up into one,
Mm.
premium package. Who doesn't love that?
Yeah, no, I think that's that's the thing is like I remember when the Motorola Razr was first promoted out, like, and I was like, oh man, this thing's legit, like it's so cool, I got to get it. And then people I was working at a greenhouse, and I was a junior in high school when it came out, and these guys I worked with at a greenhouse, they're like, do you want to spend $300 on an iPhone? Which is funny because nowadays like people are spending like between five to they're spending like over $2,000 just for
Yeah.
a phone. But at the time, it seemed like that was the most expensive product out there, and people were like, I don't want to spend that much money on a phone. But yet here we are, people are spending like over
But
2K.
even I don't either. I mean,
Yeah,
all my
man.
stuff is they're contract phones. This is a contract phone, so it costs me nothing for the phone. All I pay is my bill. But the
Yeah.
iPhone, I didn't expect to get that, Anthony. That was a big shock for me because I got a backpack for the MacBook for work, and
Uh-huh.
then the bag was opened a little bit, and I picked up and a box fell out. I was like, "What's this?" And I picked it up, and it was that. And I was like, I didn't ask for a phone. And I was like sitting there looking at it. And the guy's like, did you get everything? And I was like, yeah, I got a phone also. He's like, oh yeah, good that you got it. I'm like, okay. I said, there's no SIM card in it. He's like, oh yeah, we'll sort that later. And I just like, but it was quite a shock to me. And it's the first time I've used an Apple product, like an iPhone, for a long time. And I'm obsessed with the camera now. Honestly, I'm absolutely obsessed with the camera. See these live photos where you can just take a photo and it's like a video.
Uh-huh.
Dude, my sunset clip on my Instagram was shot only with live photos. That was the only
I
one.
mean, I remember when I first did the live photo feature, and I was just like blown away. I was like, "This is so cool!" Like I was geeking out. Like I was a little kid, like a little kid in a candy shop.
Yeah.
I'm probably gonna carbon date myself a little bit. But do you guys remember when iTunes first came to mobile devices?
Mm-hmm.
And like everyone, and it was only through like AT&T, and so everyone who was anyone was wanting to go to AT&T so they could access iTunes, and then other network carriers started doing it, and then they just kind of left AT&T in the past. And then I just thought it was kind of funny because like there for a while, AT&T was the only place you could get the iPhone, and then Verizon started carrying it, and then Sprint, and then T-Mobile, and I was just like, oh my gosh.
So I don't know. I like these phones, man. I think they're nice.
Oh yeah.
I don't know what I'm going to do next with it. Same with the MacBook and stuff. The MacBook is really nice. The Pro's really good. I mean, that's the first video render I did since I used my own. I've got my other MacBook in there, and it took like 40 minutes to do a render. And then I did it on a MacBook Pro. It was like 5 minutes. I was like, what's going on here? I'm going to make video. I'm going to do bigger videos now.
Like, wait a minute. Like, this is amazing, but like, how?
Exactly. It's like, how are you managing this?
So he's not here anymore, but my friend Aaron, he said my old Samsung Juke, which I do remember the Samsung Jukes.
Yeah.
It was so expensive for a non-smartphone.
And I remember that was another gimmick phone.
Yeah, that was another gimmick phone. There were so many of those. Like I remember the first time I actually ever saw the Sidekick. One of my friends in high school had it, and I thought that thing is so cool. Like it's legit. But after, I think he actually ended up upgrading his phone like after that year because the phone just like broke or something. He's like, yeah, it was a piece of crap phone. He's like, I did not like it.
So you're not that old then, though. You just kind of carbon date yourself when you said you're in high school when they had Sidekick. So, dude,
I was born in '88, so
I grew up with the point where we didn't have house phones. We had to go to people's houses. It was Motorola. I had a Motorola pager. Someone could get me to. That's what I had. Phone me now. That's what I get messages. Don't phone me now.
I remember seeing people with pagers. That was the most silent form of communication that people had.
Yeah. It was just to kind of get you to go to a payphone or somebody that had to reach you at any time. That's all it was, essentially. And it was useful. My mum used to go, Jerome, and then she'd just write a message, Jerome, I need to talk. And then I'd run to the phone. You have to go to the shop and buy all these things for me before you come home. I'm like, oh, okay.
So going back to the Apple event, one of the things I think I really liked that they announced was the M1 Ultra chip. Like I just thought, like, because they did a side-by-side comparison, and they said like, they just showed like how the M1 chip was like this big, and then the M1 Ultra chip was like just huge, and I was just blown away at how big and massive it was in comparison. So what are you guys' thoughts on that?
I just don't know. I don't know what how it's going to be. I don't know what it is because Macs are not known for their gaming possibilities. It's more about for professionals, architects, movie producers, photographers, videographers. So I don't know, like this M1 chip is great, good as it is, but this upgrade, I'm scared of what it's going to be, what kind of potential it's going to have, to be honest.
You mean the one after or the one that was just announced today?
The one that's coming now. The one that's just announced.
The last one that they say?
Yeah.
I was telling Anthony, I think they might still have one up their sleeve. But
well, they have to because Windows will probably pull something out the hat, and that's going to be...
I mean, you figure this is basically the 27-inch desktop machine. This is what they've wanted to have since forever. And a higher performing all-in-one iMac was just a quick little something to get out the door for people who wouldn't shut up about it or whatever the case was. And I don't see. Of course, I would love one. I would probably not get one because I'd not made of money like that, or it would go to waste, right? For me. Yeah. But for that person who does want an all-in-one, how much more? I mean, what's the argument then? If you could get this and an all-in-one, like, okay, you won't get it at the same price because that's more engineering, right? So
I mean, an all-in-one, it's essentially just a laptop but stuck at your desk. It's pretty much pointless. If you're going to get an all-in-one, put it in a Mac, put it in a laptop.
And see, that's how I feel because I'm always on the go.
Yeah.
And especially like,
Yeah.
being a content creator, I want to be able to have my computer with me. I don't want to say like, oh, well, I got to wait till I get all the way back home in Utah to edit
Yeah.
the footage. And, I want to be able to go back to like a hotel room and plug in my camera and everything and just start working on the video, just so that I don't have to worry about either erasing the video on accident or whatever. And that's just how I am. Like, I have family that's all about the desktop computers, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like having my stuff with me because I mean, I haven't been too creative in a while, but because I know and I've been there that whenever it strikes, it strikes. And it's just, hey, right now, and who knows how long it's gonna last for, and then you're not inspired anymore or what have you, then you missed your window, or you didn't have, maybe your phone was charging or in the middle of an update, or all of these things. For me, I want the biggest screen possible, the longest, biggest battery in a mobile all-in-one package that I can have with me. So in case the power goes out, which it does still happen in big cities. Even like, I mean, I'm in the Silicon Valley, but every so often we're like, oh, power's out or internet's out. So also why having cellular and Wi-Fi is preferred.
Yeah.
At least, for me, as much local storage as you can stomach, because Apple does, really, really gouge, I think, for that. But because it's convenience is why.
Yeah, do you guys remember when the U.S. government was trying to pressure Apple into creating a backdoor into their iOS system so they could because like, nope, now it's our agreement with our customers, and so they just like, forget you. They're just like, forget you, and I was like, thank you, Apple, for stepping up.
Yeah, I mean, imagine that if they're like, hey, Anthony, you have to now have your back gate unlocked for whoever wants to come in.
Yeah, exactly.
No,
jack in anytime they want, they can get in anytime they want.
Hey, I can't get into this guy's house whenever. Like, what? You don't live here. Go away.
Thank God I live in Scotland.
I've always wanted to go to Scotland, JJ, because I have a lot of my ancestral roots that come from Scotland.
Honestly, it's okay. We're part of England, which is a pity, but Scotland in a general sense is its own entity. So
going back to that, there's one of my friends from here in Utah. His name is Matt Elgren. He said, "You guys are a blast to watch. Loving this phone talk." So Matt is actually a phone salesman for Verizon here locally in the Utah area, and so that's why he's getting such a kick out of this, is because like that's what he does for a living. He sells.
You need to sell all of those gimmick phones to everybody. That's
exactly.
It's funny to say that, because he actually down here, he says, I think I have one of the most gimmicky phones, the Motorola Z3. The battery attachment, projector attachment, attachment, and more. And that is one of the biggest gimmick phones I think I've ever seen on market, actually.
Well, they would say, I would argue, they would say one of the most modular phones, smartphones, highly customizable devices to date.
It's like buying a car.
I mean, you figure what's he said battery attachment, MagSafe battery pack. What's the difference? It attaches cooler and slicker. I mean, but see, then again, that's exactly how most people who aren't into tech, who aren't tech fanatics, that will buy everything and anything, whether we have money or not, how they think. Does it look different? Does it look, act different, new, better, clean, slick, elegant? Because of how little thought these people, normal people, put into stuff like this, is why that appeals to them, whether up here up front or in the back of their mind, to where, man, I don't want to have to fuss with this, that, or the other thing. Whoever's gonna basically like take the least amount of my time, money, energy, and effort, at least that they value that above money, they don't mind that trade-off in paying premium for premium features and streamline options and this and that and the other thing. It's so easy, so they can just move on with their life and get away from nerds.
But they don't even use half the gimmicks they get. They don't even know how to use them. They go, oh, this get this and this. Do you know how to use it? Like, no.
But it can do it.
Then?
Well, I know my iPhone's better than your phone, so I'm better. It comes in gold.
That's what I loved about when they came out with the iPhone 12 Pro Max, because JJ, you have this on the 13. They had that sensor in there that it'll sense like when you're walking, so it makes it a lot more level.
Oh, right, the gate,
having the shaking,
tracking or something.
Yeah, the tracking, and so I felt like that was such a great improvement, because my first, I'll be honest with you, my first YouTube video, I did it on my Canon Rebel T6. I mean, the camera was shaky because I didn't have a gimbal, I didn't have anything, and I actually had friends, and who were saying like, "Man, you need a gimbal." I was like,
Yeah.
I know, I need a gimbal. I get it. I'm just starting out, but then once I switched to this, I was just
with the
blown
built-in
away.
stabilization, with the
Yeah.
image stabilizer, that little sensor that moves around.
Yeah, that's what I'm
There
talking
we go. There we go.
Mhm.
That same thing where they're marketing it like, oh, this replaces all of these cameras, and then you have like camera diehards that are like, no effing way, hell no, not
Even,
at all.
I'm even
But,
like that. See when somebody says to me, "Your Pro Max stabilization and everything else," you can compare it to GoPro. It's going to be. I'm like, no one's going to put a $2,000 phone on a actual skateboard or a snowboard and just go down a hill in it. There's no
but
way in hell.
it's the poser syndrome, exactly. Like, just
Exactly.
it can do it. I'm not gonna do it, but it totally could
Exactly.
do it.
But you
So
could be a
I'll
fool
just
and you can do it. That's
yeah,
what they're
yeah,
saying. Be a fool.
right.
Use your phone. Jump into the water with it. Give me a GoPro, like a GoPro 10 any day. I mean,
exactly.
for the stabilization, if you put it on a gimbal, you've got double stabilization. I swear it'll be so smooth you wouldn't even know you're moving.
Oh,
I'm
they're all
telling you.
4K, right?
Yeah, it's up to 6K now.
4K
It
60.
shoots.
Yeah.
Yeah. And see, like with I have an Apple Watch Series 5, and I remember like this was the generation that they said like you can start like wearing in the pool and everything. And I thought in my mind like I still don't feel comfortable in jumping in
Oh,
a
I do.
pool
I did
with
all the time.
He's like,
my
As soon
watch.
as they said up to 30 minutes, 30 feet, or whatever it was, 3 meters, I was like, okay, let's do it, because they said, you said.
Well, and it's funny because like so last in fall semester at my university I attend, my Apple Watch just kept disconnecting from my phone. So since my campus Weber State that I attend, they have an authorized like dealer and repair shop on that campus, as most universities do. And so one of the technicians, he asked me like, "Do you shower with this at all, or do you like to go swimming?" I'm like, "No, I take it off." He's like, "Okay, good." He's like, "Because."
Boo.
Because he was trying to figure out like what was wrong with it. He wanted to make sure there wasn't anything warped inside the actual watch itself, but it just turned out to be like some little technical error. But I just find it interesting because like I remember when the 12 Pro and the 12 Pro Max came out, and Apple had that big commercial video thing about how directors were using it for like their drone footage and for filming videos, like movies and everything. And I thought, I'm like, I'll admit, like I was one of those that was like, wow, that's cool. Like you can make a video with this.
Yeah.
But at the same time, looking back, like I would rather use an actual legit camera on a drone or like, on a shoulder camera or something than sticking my, $2,000 phone attached to a drone or attached to this Jimmy rig or this gimbal and running the risk of that phone breaking. Like that's just how I am.
No, but they can. That's the thing. They can because they can afford to. It's not their phone. It's a company's phone. So they just go buy another phone. We're going to use this to shoot this footage here. Okay, no problem. Here's some money. If it's us, it's like go put your phone in the drone right there. We're going to fly over the river. You're like, no thanks.
Right. It's more and more niche. Like you figure,
exactly.
It's. I mean, in a pinch, it's good that you could use that. The phone that you're already going to carry with you, like everyone else does. You have it with you all the time. Assuming it's charged. Yeah, whatever. That you have enough memory on there, and this thing, like in a pinch or something. Say your other camera breaks, or the lens breaks, or you run out of battery on your drone or whatever the heck. You're able to use it. It just adds to its utility. I think so, but it's very niche. I mean, like I'm not going to go hiking in a creek and then okay, here we go. Send the iPhone down the river and let's get some cool
no, exactly. Man. That's my point. I was like, chest mount the GoPro, get the GoPro 360 on the go or the GoPro Max, and just walk around with that. And then your batteries are running out. You're like, okay, my batteries are done. You've got the cameras. You're just like, use a camera now.
Right, but and while they're showing, I know why Apple does it, because the marketing looks good. Because you see, like, oh wow, look how gorgeous all of these things, and polished and edited, and looks great. It just makes it more attractive, and they're selling what you can do with this. They're selling the Apple iPhone lifestyle, right? Potential. Yeah. And so while everyone has like, oh, just do this, get the GoPro, do that. There's better solutions. Like they're not going to do that. I'm not going to, hey, let's go iPhone shopping and then we'll look at some GoPros and then we'll get a couple of these bad boys and some, like, again, they're not technically savvy. They don't really,
exactly.
It's that pizzazz and flashing lights and these quick cuts and a drone flying over a pine tree or whatever. It's like,
but if you want the footage, if you want that kind of footage, if you want that kind of footage though, like, but GoPros are more for people who are extreme You know, people who like to skydive, jumping into water from cliffs, snowboarding on bikes, high speeds, all this kind of stuff. That's GoPro people. You know, that's not iPhone people. They're more like chilled out, looking at themselves, wavy hair in the wind and stuff down by the
Yeah, right.
beach.
Portrait mode, a quick,
Yeah,
You guys,
point,
exactly.
clean shoot, long-lasting battery, big screen so you can see yourself.
you
Yeah,
guys
exactly.
remember
So you can,
the selfie sticks when they came out and how everyone
Oh,
I
was
man.
don't. I never ever had one, but see when people had them, I wanted to hit them with it. I'm like, give me
I thought
that.
it was a cane. A lot of the times I'm like, what
Yeah,
happened with these guys? And then they pull it out and they put I'm like, oh, okay. All right.
yeah,
They're a different
exactly.
type of handicap.
my favorite was like when you see like high school students and like just other teenagers just like walking like, oh, I got a selfie stick. Look, I'm recording video. I'm not even holding my phone. I was like, you look like an idiot. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
but you look stupid.
It's
Well,
their
the internet loves
egos
it.
are so inflated that they have to zoom back so they can fit their head in the actual
Yeah.
footage. That's what it
Your ego's just that big.
is. Exactly. I can't fit myself in here. I've got to use my selfie stick. There we go. I fit now.
And my favorite was when they was after so many people had bought them, how the phones would just like randomly detach from the selfie sticks and they'd break. So these companies, these manufacturing companies had to come out with this like caution saying like, please be aware that the phone can, disconnect from it, it can break. And I just thought my mom like, that's why you don't use them. Like that's why you don't use them.
Yeah, one of the gimmicks to these all these folding phones is for that. And how he just said, just so you can stream or get a photo, you just fold it, put it on a shelf or on a desk, and you back up all the way, super far away. And like that. Is that why you bought it? Is that why he's paid $2,000 for this folding thing?
When I looked at those phones,
4 feet away from it, and you can't even make out. It looks like the tiny, so
tiny
small.
little. Yeah, when I saw those phones, I thought to myself right away, that is the Game Boy. Remember the Game Boy Advance, the folding one?
The clamshell.
I was like, we're taking ourselves right back to that again. Flip Game Boys.
I mean, once like leading up to that point, I mean, you figure. I think we talked about on a different stream was the first phones where they were the satchel, right? You had to carry the briefcase or the satchel with you, so they were huge. We're like, how did we get this small? And then when we reached, I think the smallest around after the Razor, right? Wasn't there? I forget.
There was
one
a
of them
small,
was like,
there was a tiny phone.
Someone came out with like the smallest, cell phone to date in like the early 2000s, and then from there was like, well, how about now a bigger one? And then when screen technology was improving, when they can actually play games other than Snake, and stuff like that. So that, and then you can text people, you can connect messengers. Now you can read and write emails and take decent photos. So now let's get a bigger screen, and then every couple of years another screen size jump, and then boom 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 boom, then the 6 Plus, then you got what is it, 6.7 inches now on the 12 and the 13s, and then iPads and tablets and so.
But it all stemmed from Microsoft and BlackBerry and Microsoft.
Down, I think.
See, when BlackBerry and Microsoft appeared on the scene, that's when they started doing the actual keyboards on the actual phones. And after that, that was it. It's more like, why do we need computers anymore? Let's make phones computers. And everybody just started. It was like Apple jumped in there, Microsoft were in there. And then it was all of a sudden BlackBerry for a long time. All the businessmen had BlackBerry. They didn't need any fancy gadgets and gimmicks. They just wanted it for emails so they could look popular and posh. Well, let me just check my email.
Yeah, the even more, the most mobile office, right? That was what that was. You have the business reply. And you remember the guys with the styluses?
Oh yeah. Oh, it's the worst.
Come on. Let's see.
Let me just get right now. Just
like
I am very important. Super
it's like
important over here.
It's like people when they sell you tickets, they get a machine like tapping with it's like that.
You guys remember Palm Pilots?
Oh, don't even. He's actually doing it. He's like, oh, that would $27, sir.
My favorite was like when I saw junior high and high school students with Palm Pilots. I'm like, what are you even using this for? Like, you're in
talk
school.
to other students that have it.
Yeah, exactly. Check out my picture.
That's the only reason. Man, how boring is school?
This girl I think is so hot in math in period 4.
They just draw pictures of things and send them to each other. That's all they do. Sketch little pictures and send.
And
then text to speech came out.
When the 12, it was the 12, right? 12 mini was the first time they were like, okay, now let's go small. And then when people were like, oh, it's too small, I'm like, it's as big as the 5 was, if not maybe a little bit bigger. Like same form factor, but you got like point whatever, more screen real estate. And is that where we're going next? I mean, who else could predict? I mean, I don't see a point really for a folding phone or device. I mean, obviously, yeah, I'm biased. I prefer Apple. I can't picture like, hey, this iPad fold, like the iPad fold or an iPhone fold. I'm like, okay, why? What?
Well, I've got
aside
to
from it
say,
having one more step, like I can take it out of my pocket and I have to open it and then unlock it or press my finger or whatever. I'm like, I thought the point was to be streamlined.
But in terms of if we're going back, like see, we're talking about iPads and stuff like this. I think that iPads were great and all, but honestly, Surface Book Pros, they were already ahead of Apple in terms of with the folding actual detachable keyboards and stuff like that. I think that because Apple had to actually go back, they didn't want to do the detachable keyboards that clicked in and everything else. They wanted everything to be bog standard, just tablet. And then when they saw what Mac were doing, I mean, not Mac, but Windows were doing, they actually had to revert and go the same route, to be honest. I do like iPads, the pads, to be honest.
I mean, for me, there's no use for it. For me, I get how it is definitely more utility and more practical. But again, like for my workflow, like me, it's all for show. It's all for fun. It's all for games, consuming media, social media or what. It's not a huge, I don't need it to do all of that. Would it be cool? Sure. But again, because the softwares and the hardwares are never going to play nice, making my decision to be over here. And I think that, yeah, we get bugs all the time, but how long do we really live with bugs before there's 0.251 or 2.351 or 0.4? So that thing of, to me, after I guess maybe college was probably the last time that I was using, Windows for school, or at least personally. I know other businesses points of sale, they'll use even older stuff like Linux. So it's, just 10 key or whatever the heck. Like, but for me on my time, that there was no real allure. Nothing really drew me to. I mean, like, it's neat when you do see like, oh, Apple doesn't do that or doesn't offer that, and they probably never will. But that would be cool. But everything, the ecosystem and all. I hate to say it, but it's true. Now I'm gonna throw a wrench into what I have. I got a good thing here. I got the watch. I got the MacBook. I got the laptop. I got my phone, and I'm already so far deep into it. And for me, because I am like pretty. I mean, as a consumer, pretty shallow, right? With like, it's gorgeous. It's nice to look at, right? It feels good in the hand. The quality's there. You're paying for more than just the ecosystem, more than just any one thing. It's how they all work together, and that's what
I'm the same as you. I need the ecosystem though. I mean, I've got the Macs, I've got like Apple stuff, but I've also got Windows because
I got an HP down here. It's disconnected.
I play Xbox, and everything's linked to there. So movies, TV. I don't use Netflix. I buy everything because I don't. Netflix annoys me simply for the fact that every time I watch a show or a movie, it ends up disappearing off the catalog because they decide they want to get rid of it, or they lose the IP of it. So I end up just buying everything. So
don't get me started on Netflix. Do not get me started.
But the point of the Surface Book Pro is for drawing, sketching. That was the main purpose of it. And also, I do like the look of it. It's quite.
Well, I don't draw. I think it's funny when people. So there's this other YouTube channel called Viva La Dirt League. I don't know if you guys have heard them. They're from the New Zealand area. You'll have to look them up after the stream. But these guys, they talk about, they do just different skits. But one of them was like where these two guys they're like sales associates in this game store, and then one of them comes in dressed. He's basically acting like the customer, and he's like, I want to get a new MacBook. He's like, oh, awesome, Mike, we got it right now. He's like, yeah, I want to use it for gaming, and then they all just stop and
exactly,
get out of the store. We don't want you here. Just get out. And so. And that's the thing is that like growing up my family had PCs, but I've had this conversation with my family a lot where we went from like a PC family, like where we had a home PC desktop. My mom had the PC laptops for school, to now we're all just like pro Apple. Like basically every one of my family members is an Apple owner, and it's so interesting. And people get so mad. They're like, "Oh, well, you can't really do too much on Apple." I'm like,
"Well, you can
more than you realize on Apple. Yeah, you can't play, you can't play like a Star Wars online game or something on it, but you can do a lot more than you realize." And people just
you mean like productivity wise or like for work?
Is that what, like? So people, I've had a lot of. I've actually almost gotten into arguments before with people because, like, it's arguing with people about the Android versus Apple, or the Android or the Apple versus PC kind of thing. Like, that's a lose-lose conversation.
Yeah.
Like, no one's going to be happy either way. And it's just been interesting because some people, they're like, well, yeah, Apple's great, but I can't play my games. And I'm like, well, that's not what Apple is intended for. Apple is really, like JJ said earlier, it's meant for professionals. It's meant for, the people who are like content creators, who are
It's for work.
artists.
Yeah.
It's
Creating or for work.
Yeah.
I mean, Apple has allowed some gaming programs to come on there, like, Steam. And then there's this one that we can like kind of mirror image a PC, so you can play that Star Wars online game, from what I understand. And then, like, people who get into that, like World of Warcraft, but mostly, basically, Apple's for the work environment. It's for work. It's to, to really just show forth your work and your possibilities with your business, whether it be a photography, videography, drawing, or whatever case may be. So,
yeah, a lot of people don't want to. Like, I've got a lot of friends who play PCs, a lot of friends that build PCs, to be honest, and they will never ever. They know that MacBooks are good. They know the Pro is good. They just say it's not good enough for gaming. I don't care what you say. You say if I was to go and buy a Mac,
yeah.
They don't, exactly. But the thing is, they don't want to go and pay $3,000 for a MacBook Pro, like a laptop, when they can go build a PC for half the price that's going to be more powerful.
And especially that most games have been transitioning to multi-platform.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
You don't need to be on the same machine anymore, or the same operating software to be on the same servers as your buddies or strangers. Because
it could be cloud-based now anyway. It's all from the clouds, especially with Microsoft. They pushed that on Xbox, that everything you can do cloud gaming from your phone. I could just put the app on my Apple phone and start playing on any game I want. So,
I mean, how much now do you think that's going to change with these new machines, with Apple Silicon, like now? I know that's everyone, that's accumulation of machines of the past, everything pre-Apple Silicon. And I know, because I mean, even trying to mix two songs, I was telling Anthony before, even trying to mix two songs on the base model 15-inch, but still MacBook Pro 2012 would skip, freeze, and shut down not just the program but the entire machine sometimes. Like also from I'm guessing from inefficient cooling, but like that, something like that. It's like, yeah, I've been there, I've done that, I've lived it. Like, so I totally get that. But now with all of these new Apple Silicons, which I think was what Apple intended the entire time, but just took this long to materialize and to be able to produce and offer to the masses at
but
fairly,
the thing is scary about that.
Same prices, give or take, at about the same, sometimes even when you adjust for inflation, cheaper than MacBooks of the past. So is that gaming going to change?
I think so. I mean, I do think so. But I think that what they're pulling out now is, like, they have to remember that they're playing catch up with all these other people from the past.
I think they're taking their time.
Yeah, they're taking their time, but you got to remember that the stuff that's out there now with all the other competitors are old stuff. They've got stuff that's already way ahead, and they're not going to throw everything out right away. They're going to be like, let's just trickle this out for people. And now Apple's eventually like, we've caught up with everybody. Like, well, actually, guys, you haven't. Because we've not shown you what we've got yet, and that's the thing that scares me.
Don't they create games? Don't a lot of production houses use?
I think the sad thing now, I think not so much anymore. I mean, they don't even cater for PC anymore, to be honest. That's why a lot of PC people are angry, because they're catering for the console players, the Xbox Series X, the PlayStation 4. It is a bigger market, and also,
I mean, like iOS games, the App Store is kicking all of their butts put together combined. But again, on because everyone has it, and everyone's bored all the time. Any little time, let me do Candy Crush for a little bit. Let me do this. Let me do that. Like, casual, trying to kill time. Bored gamers, but casual gamers. But for those people that are more serious, I mean, I have it even too. I have the PS5. I would get a PlayStation every time that I could get one. I'm guessing from the 2, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because when I don't want to be on this little ass screen. It's the biggest screen you can get, but it's. It's this big. Come on.
Your eyes are a bit so tight.
Plug it into the HDMI and let's do. Let's get down.
Here's the thing, though, is that technology has improved so much that there's this thing called GeForce Now that you can actually pay a monthly subscription, and it's a cloud gaming kind of like thing, and you can play
GPU.
You can You can
Like
play like
random
Halo
GPUs and
from
stuff?
like your phone. You can
Oh
play
wow.
all
Yeah.
these like
Okay.
big games from your phone or even from your
You-
MacBook.
No, that's cool.
Well,
And
you do that. That's what I'm talking about. That's what Xbox are doing right now, guys.
yeah,
That's
and
what
see,
that's the thing. They released it 2 years ago. And
yeah,
the thing that's great about it is any games that you own, it's on your catalog. You can
uh-huh,
play them at any time. You can download them. You don't even need to download them. You can stream them directly from the cloud on your phone.
uh-huh. And so like,
And yeah,
there's this game streamer that I follow online, and he's mentioned it a few times about how he's like, if you're bored and like if you're on a road trip, you're bored in the car, it's like you can just easily pull out your phone and just say like,
yeah,
oh, well, I'm going to play some Call of Duty, or I'm going to
yeah.
go play this. I'm going to go play, that I'm going to go play some Elden Ring or something, something like
Yeah.
that.
I was playing Elden Ring. Actually, I just bought that like 2 days ago because I game share with a guy in the States. He's a streamer, a Twitch streamer. And I played it for about an hour, and I'm like, I don't even know what's going on here. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. There's no even any direction. There's nowhere to go. I'm running around killing the same enemies. I'm like, nah, I'm done.
The question I have to ask is, with everything that was announced today, like, what would be with that Apple event? Like, what is something that you guys are all excited for? And those who watch, you can put it in the chat what you're excited for.
Oh man, just that. I mean, thinking about like, yeah, they've been horrible with naming, but because I was thinking like, okay, M1 Max means maximum, right? Like
Yeah,
this
maximum.
isn't rocket science, and they're like, well, one more about it. So I'm already excited along for the ride because as far as like my boxes for what I both want and need, or at least I'm willing to go broke for. Or my ability to go broke for was already with the 16-inch MacBook Pro that I was replacing my almost wow, it'll be 10 years old, the 2012 15-inch Intel. Like I told you, I want the biggest screen that's portable, that doesn't need to be plugged in,
Yeah.
for work, for play, for just that would be that was my stop. And then maybe I could have gotten away with like a base model for M1 Pro, but again, just because I was like, well, I'm already in this deep, and I had the Apple credit from a couple returned products from last year that Apple has borrowed from me for a year with no interest. I'm like, okay, I have enough credits in there. Let me grab the biggest RAM. But that was my stop. So as far as everything else, now it's all just bonus. Now I'm just here happy for Apple and happy for whoever else that have been waiting clearly longer than I have. If you're really going to be like, okay, this was what I was wanting and needing, whether it's for my business or for fun, something just a little more, or something to replace some people have 4 or 5 year old iMac Pros, and so I know they're happy.
Yeah. JJ, what about you?
I'm good right now. As you know, like I said, my MacBook's 2021, and the phone's just new, so 2021 as well. I'm not going to upgrade, not until next year, not until the year after. I don't. I usually do 2-year increments between, or else 3, because that's the standard shelf life. To be honest, you can extend it. You can go for 8 years if you want to with your MacBook or your phone, but eventually it's just going to become a brick. So I usually do it every 3 years. So I do.
Well, I think the thing that I love the most is that, like, with Apple, so my first personal computer I got was a MacBook Pro mid 2012 model. It was like the last model that actually had the CD-ROM drive on the side. This thing was a heavy suck. Well, it was a 13-inch, and it was a heavy sucker. This thing was really heavy. And so I used that from like 2013 all the way to like 2019. And I finally just sold it back to Apple. I only got like maybe $120 of Apple credit for it. But that's the thing that I've always loved about Apple products. JJ, you said it, you just barely said that you can go a long time without even worrying having to upgrade, because like that's how good the products are. Like, I mean, and I know I'm biased. I'm an Apple fan. I'm pro Apple. But that's the thing about it, is like, if you take care of it, it really comes down to what are you using it for and how well are you going to take care of it. Because like, obviously, if you're just going to throw it in your backpack and you're going to toss your backpack around, you're
sounds like me.
I
love my MacBooks, but I do throw them in the backpacks and just kind of buckle them around. But a bag of rocks.
People who just don't really take good care of their stuff. Like, we all know someone whether it
Yeah.
be family, friends, or just someone who does not take good care of their stuff, like they don't treat it with
And
care.
hopefully you find that out before you lend them anything.
Yeah.
Exactly. But I think that's the thing, is that like people get so mad when they're like, oh, well, I don't want to pay, $4,000 for a new MacBook. And I'm just like, it's that expensive because of the parts that are in it. They built them to last.
Yeah.
They want them to last, and they stand by their products, So before my brother got his MacBook, his first MacBook, he had an Alienware laptop, which was, everyone knows is made by Dell Computers. And his ex-girlfriend got it for him when they were dating. And because he was a big gamer, he loved gaming on it. And out of nowhere, it just started having problems. So he took it to a local PC repair shop here in the Utah area. And the guy's like, yeah, your motherboard's fried.
Yeah.
And so he's just like,
what happens, man.
Yeah. And so he's like, so he went from PC to Apple, and obviously, you can't game as much on Apple, but there's so many perks to Apple, in my opinion. And today just kind of showed those off, in my honest opinion. It showed what Apple is capable of, and that the best is yet to come with future products that they have in store.
But you got to remember, I mean, no disrespect to your brother and things like that, but see when people tend to get Alienwares and stuff, Alienwares are great laptops, man. Don't get me wrong, they're actual beasts. But see when people tend to get an Alienware, the first thing they do is high spec everything, high spec, max graphics, max everything, max rendering, max special. You're just like, you're going to fry your whole computer if you do that. There's capabilities that it's built for. It doesn't mean because it's Alienware you can max everything out. Yeah, pick one or two things, not the whole thing.
What's the most important to you? Right.
Yeah. So as people just get excited right away, and that's what tends to happen. And then they completely fry the laptop, and they go, "Why is it broken? It's a crap laptop." That's the first thing they'll say.
It's all about how you take care of it, in my honest opinion.
Yeah. I mean, I know friends that actually use their MacBooks as coasters sometimes, putting a coffee on top. I'm just like, man, they've got it down, then it's put a coffee on top. I'm just like, seriously? I'm like, that's an expensive coaster. That's what
Is my internet skipping, or is that you guys?
That's me probably.
Okay.
And I talk so fast that it just blurs to you.
Okay. I was trying to see what devices are on Wi-Fi, because sometimes we have outages with that too, and real sudden dips with this Xfinity stuff.
You got to get Mark. Do you guys have the chance to get fiber in your area yet? Because I'm on fiber now. Maybe
when Comcast offers it to us, because right now we have one of the highest. I guess I think maybe the second to highest tier with them, with everything included, because we've got, man, I don't even know how many TV boxes. We got that bundle with it. So I have the 4K box, and then I think they have one or two downstairs, and then the regular boxes in the parents' room. My brother in the back with the garage, and then the living room, and so it's the full. They got us pretty good.
I was in a chat with my friends actually. The guys, they're based in America as well. Like I said, streamers, Rhino, Dex, and I think the other guy's called Dyson, and they're talking about Comcast. They're talking about how bad they are. They said that they're going to start putting data caps on. We don't have data caps in the UK, but you're going to start getting data caps. Comcast is going to start putting data caps.
See, that doesn't surprise me with Comcast. So my family just got fiber internet, and it I can tell you right now, this thing is top notch. I love having fiber internet. But I remember before we had fiber internet, we actually had Comcast, and you never knew how much you were going to pay each month.
That's what you said as well.
Each month it was
it was their best guess, right? Yeah.
Higher or lower.
It's kind of like you're gambling away your actual money to an actual provider.
Sprint and T-Mobile were doing that too before they were together. I don't know if they do it too much. I think they've kind of figured out this is more or less what you're going to pay, maybe 5 cents more, 5 cents less. But I remember sometimes I'm like, whoa, why is it now $15 or $20 more? It's like, oh, you were roaming and blah, blah, blah. I was like, come on, man.
Exactly.
You didn't tell me about that. They're like, well, yeah.
Don't you just love the hidden fees?
You can get no, it's
it was also complaining about how it pays for a certain connection speed, and then when it does a speed test, the speed test is so low, way lower than it actually is. And then he's calling to the customer service and he's explaining to them. And she says, well, I'm checking right now, and you're actually over your limit. You know, you got a faster connection. He's like, please show me what you see because I don't see that. What browser are you using?
Comcast says so much BS. Like my family's had so many arguments with Comcast over the years. Like because before we have when we've had cable, we use that YouTube TV. But before that, we had Comcast Comcast cable. And like these people they're so high on themselves, like they will never take fault for anything. And I'm sure that Mark, I'm sure that Mark can attest to this, that like if there's ever something technical wrong with your Xfinity Wi-Fi or something, it's always your fault. It's never Comcast's fault.
Yeah, man.
Always.
Did you restart it? When's the last time you did a refresh? How far are you from a window or a wall, or how high is the device?
What kind of modem are you using?
How close? Do you have a dog by chance?
Exactly.
I don't see how that's relevant.
We can't have that here in Scotland. They have the internet provider I have. They have a service called Boost, and if your connection is below, it doesn't matter if it's like 5 or 10, maybe even 100 below what you actually are supposed to have. If it's been like that for over a couple hours, you can actually lodge a complaint, and you don't pay your bill for a month.
Wow. I mean, over here,
it's about customer standards, man. It's about customer standards.
I think also over here sometimes, I mean, I don't know if it's a conspiracy or I just made it up in my head, but sometimes we'll get really, really, because the Bay Area, so we'll get real strong gusts of wind sometimes. And I forget that while it's all wireless, we're still with cables. And not only do they go from the ground, they'll go up, and they're, who knows whatever the heck's going on, or like stuff is like shaking in the wind because Comcast would rather pocket money than upkeep, which is I would do it too if I was them, if I'm being honest.
They actually put limiters on it. Actually, it's limiters. They put limiters on actually at certain
like a lot of splitters too, right? They'll have the same cable for every house on the block.
Exactly, but they also put like a time gated limiter, so it means that it brings your actual connection speeds down when you're at a certain like a peak time. So around 8 o'clock, maybe 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, maybe 9 o'clock, they'll actually drop all internet speeds.
Because our prices are fixed, but their costs are not, right?
Exactly. But you'll never realize, or you might realize, you start, what's going on? And then you'll start shouting at each other around the house. Are you on the internet? You're like, yeah, like, get off, man, I'm trying to do something.
Yeah.
You'll end up arguing with each other.
Or you notice YouTube does a similar thing too, where they'll be like, oh, did you want 1080p or 40 or 2160? Because it's available, but you're over here in like 300 and it's like 400. I'm like, come on, man.
Yeah, exactly. Bring it back up.
Thing. Yeah. I'll watch an ad, give me all the way up. They're like, oh, well, and like, is this bad? It's like, oh, and it defaults to it too. I can't. A lot of times it'll ignore what you're setting.
Yeah, what you put. Yeah, exactly. It will give you a high crisp 1080 actual ads, but see your footage. It will not give you. It will switch it and then switch it back.
Some of these even like they pop out in 3D. I'm like, what's going on? And then
it's so crisp. And then you look at yours, you're like, whoa, Mario, Super Mario Brothers, Super Mario Brothers.
But I think one of the things that I've always laughed at would be, so my family, we just moved like a couple months ago into this house that we're in right now, and you don't realize how much you rely on the internet when you can't get the internet for like a month. I was having to use my hotspot.
Oh, that's too long.
On my phone for like over a month.
I was building Lego.
I get it. No, man, over here, like it was out for maybe 3 or 4 hours one time with when we had the actual blackout too, and I'm like, it's so boring. I'm like, is this what the past used to be like? What did we even do?
And we survived.
Yeah, dude.
I'm going to go outside.
What do you want to know? I'll tell you anything. Don't torture me anymore.
Oh, wow.
Like the lights, right? Even when your internet is off, sometimes you have the smart lights. Or I feel bad for people that are even deeper into home automation.
Oh, yeah.
Because like your whole house is like nothing.
Exactly.
You have power, but like Siri won't listen to you more than she never already does, and you can't connect it. Oh man, mesh systems and stuff.
So that's a good question. Do you think that they will in the future? Do you think they're going to improve Siri? Because like there are times
not if no one uses it.
Arguments with Siri over things because Siri looks up something wrong, or they mispronounce something.
At least she understands you. She doesn't understand Scottish people.
I mean, okay, so I've had two theories. One is a little less crazy, but the first one is like, okay, not only people don't like using Siri because she's supposed to get better as you use her, but because she sucks, no one uses her. So she's not going to get better. So the next time you're going to use her, like, why are you still shitty? Like, the same amount of people have abstained from using it since the launch, right? Then my other half of the theory is that sometimes Siri is different depending on what device I'm using. Where the MacBook is one, the one in my watch is probably my favorite one. But I turned off like the thing because I'll press it like, oh, I didn't get them. Like I wasn't talking to you. Or I'll tell my iPad something, but then the HomePod listens, and I'm like, is that Siri from the other room? Like, what? How do you hear me and this one doesn't? So, but yeah, I mean, like, I don't know what Apple, like, why it's separate, or do they just want to know, like, oh, here's all the HomePod mini data, and this is everything from iPhones. This is everyone from the Apple Watch SE. Like, it seems so fragmented.
I'm glad it doesn't understand me. I'm glad it doesn't understand Scottish people. Siri, like, and then like, Siri, I'm talking to you.
That's why they did the voice plan. That's why they did the 50% off of Apple Music voice only. Right?
They should do it with Scottish people in mind, because we don't get good quality for us. They don't understand us at all.
They don't understand that Scottish accent.
They don't. But even Scottish people don't understand Scottish accent. There was actually a sketch on. I'll have to send it to you one day. It's a TV show called Burniston in Scotland. It's like a comedy sketch show, and they had two guys who go into a voice automated lift, the elevator. and they try to say to go to floor 11, they say 11, and the kids, can you please repeat that? 11, and they keep saying it till they lose their mind, man. They're trapped in the elevator and they can't get out. I'll show you.
This is hilarious already.
It's really cool. They're funny.
Oh my goodness! But yeah, I feel because I'm trying. Wasn't Siri first announced on the iPhone 4? Wasn't it iPhone
4S? I think. I think they marketed as 4S with the S for Siri.
Yeah. So like I remember when that first came out, everyone's like, "Oh, cool! You can have your own virtual assistant." So like that was the main reason that people were buying iPhone.
If I had stuff to do, then sure, I'm sure a personal assistant would be great to make sense of my not social life at all.
But the one question I want to ask you guys is like, I don't know if you guys remember this update. It was like around 2011, 2012 when you could ask Siri where the best place to hide a dead body was, and it's like,
oh, wow.
A few dumps or like crematories around here. It's like you're like, Siri, like that's so dark.
Before everything. Exactly.
Let's hope you never need to know that, Anthony.
Siri, where do you live? That's what you ask. Siri, where do you live?
Oh, I found an old screenshot. I think I just tweeted it out.
I don't actually exist physically in any one place. Really cuts down on the junk mail.
I asked them where,
wow.
I asked them where she lived, and they'll understood me, man. I don't have a place to live.
I was clearing out. I think my tweet was, you can clear out old photos, but you can't clear out old heartbreak. And it was a screenshot, an early screenshot of, thanks, Siri, I love you. And she was like, I'm sorry, I don't feel the same way, or something like that. I was like, oh, jeez.
Nice.
Oh, man.
Friend zone by a virtual assistant.
Exactly. Right? Yeah, this disembodied voice even wants nothing to do with me. How the hell? You have no body. Like, come on, really?
So, JJ, I don't know if you guys over there know about Big Bang Theory, but I'm sure, Mark, you know about Big Bang Theory. There is one.
Oh, no, I love Big Bang Theory. I mean, that's one of my favorite shows, man.
There was one episode where Raj is trying to date Siri.
Oh, yeah.
He's like asking her all these questions, like, Siri, are you single? And it's like, oh my gosh, like.
I'm surprised they could even talk to a woman. Maybe they can't talk to women. I'm surprised they could even talk to Siri. The Siri's a woman. So I'm surprised they could actually do that in that episode. It would have been more fun if they actually did ask Siri something, and then when she answered, they didn't reply because they were too scared to talk to women. Then it would be more funny.
Oh, right. Yeah, they have that like superpower weakness or whatever.
Yeah, because he only drank alcohol, and that's the only time he spoke to women. So if they actually had an episode where he spoke to Siri, asked a question, and then when she responded, he freaks out because it's a woman and doesn't say anything back, that would be hilarious for me. That would be on point. So I love Big Bang.
I did hear that there's going to be in the next iOS update. I think it's going to be dropping in the next few weeks. There's going to be some major updates. Like I heard it's like some hints of like, but obviously, everything that you hear on the internet is just this or that because nothing's really confirmed as Mark, as we found out when we were reacting to that Apple event from last fall, but I hear that this update is going to be amazing. And my hope is that they will improve Siri, but I'm not holding my breath because I remember the first time I ever tried to use Apple Maps, which was a big mistake. First off, you don't use Apple Maps. Like, I don't care who you are. You don't.
What was it? The iPhone 5, maybe 5 or 6? Was it when it was? You can do 50-50 with Google Maps.
Yeah, it's when Apple was having that big feud with Google, and
then they kicked them off, right?
Google Apps. And I remember it was like my first year of college. And I didn't know my way around the Ogden, Utah area. And so I didn't know how to get to Weber State from like where I live. And so good old Siri decided I used Apple Maps because that was the only GPS I had. And Siri led me to this parking lot in the middle of downtown Ogden, which is super sketchy. And I'm like, this is not Weber State University. And I said, Siri, why do you suck? And it said, I'm sorry, I did not understand. Do you want me to do a search for what? Siri, why do you suck?
Oh,
that's funny.
So I'm holding my breath that maybe that in the next few updates they'll improve Siri, but I'm not holding my breath.
So you went to Weber State. Damian Lillard went to Weber State.
Yeah.
Portland Trailblazers. That's my team, man. So I'm pretty surprised he went to Weber State.
Yeah,
nice.
He's really good at what he does.
I love Lillard, man. Dame time. I love Lillard. So I was just surprised.
I watched an interview that he did with the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon. So it was after that game where they won a game. It was like in the playoffs.
Against Houston, I think.
Yeah, and he just walked out. And he didn't celebrate or anything. And so Jimmy Fallon was like, "So what made you do that?" He's like, "Well, see, this is what happened." He's like, "When I was in high school out in California, I was a senior in high school. I was on the varsity basketball team. We were winning, and we only had like less than 30 seconds left on the clock on the fourth quarter. And me and a few others threw off our jersey and started running around like crazy. And so we got a technical foul. Because we pulled our jersey off. And so they added that 30 seconds back on the clock. That other team came back and won the game.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's what you get.
It is what you get.
It's not over till it's over, man.
Be humble. That's what you got to do. You got to be humble. You don't have to be on your face kind of guy. I don't mind celebrating when you win, but have a bit of humility when you do it.
Especially since it's still on the line. Like that's amateur right there. Some people when you do like the mile run or X whatever yard dash, that they'll slow down before crossing the finish line.
Yeah, exactly.
You gotta go past it. Go 10, 20 feet past that. Then you can slow down. Don't because they do that and then they let back and then they get the guy that was right behind you and you didn't even see and you lost. I'm like, come on, dude.
See, and then if you do that,
or they do the arm thing, right?
Yeah.
Oh, you lost.
Oh, damn.
If they do that and they lose,
relax and lose.
If they do that and they lose, they get drilled by their coach afterwards and have to do all sorts of laps and all sorts of crazy workouts because they decided to show off.
And because you let up too.
Yeah.
Right? If you win, I mean, now it's at least win and then deal with how good of a winner you are or whatever. But win first, man. You don't do you're showboating and you lost. I'm like, come on.
All right. Well, any final thoughts before I end the stream, guys, on the Apple event?
Well, no, I just wanted to join you guys and just pitch in and have a laugh.
I wonder who's going to be the first, within our circle or outer circle, tech people that we know, who's going to be the first to get their hands on it that is potentially purchasing it themselves, not, getting sent one from Apple or what have you, because that doesn't count.
That'll be Anthony. Watch. He's going to upgrade.
Grab one? If you were to grab one, realistically, would you get that? Would you stick with the Max? I mean, obviously that's plenty and that's more than enough. But
that'd be hard. That's a hard decision, really, because
that's the cheapest you can get the M1 Max now. Before it was the base model, bin or non, bin. The cheapest bin version with the 14-inch, I think, comes at 28. Right, 2,800.
Yeah. And honestly, when it comes down to it, there's something that to be said about the price. Like, I get it, but at the same time, it's a pretty hefty price in my opinion. Like, I'm still working on my YouTube journey, and just, I mean, yeah, especially like that Apple Studio, like that looks amazing. It looks
Phenomenal.
gorgeous.
Yeah.
But that price tag right now is like completely out of my budget. Like, I all throughout the event, I kept making tweets like, "Don't worry, y'all, we'll be bringing her up together."
Yeah.
All these kind of things, just because like there's so many things that they announced, whether it be the iPad Air, the Apple Studio, the new iPhone. I was half expecting them to announce a new Apple Watch, to be honest with you. Like it wouldn't have surprised me if they had announced a new Apple Watch, but they didn't.
Yeah, like new colors at least for the SE or something like that. Yeah,
but
like purple and green, like the same two colors, like now available, purple and green. Like,
and I think
or pine or yellow probably. I think they have green already.
But I think that when it comes down to it, it's like, especially like when it comes to the whole YouTube journey, JJ, you're on this journey with me, and Mark, you're on this journey. We're all three on this journey.
I'm not trying very hard, but yes.
No, me neither. I'm winging it, man. You got to do more content, man. Get out there, dude. If the weather's crap, it doesn't matter. I don't believe in this. It's raining outside. It's cold. I'm from Scotland. It rains every day, dude. It rains every day. Come on, man. Get out there. Show us Utah. We want to see Utah. So get out there and show us.
A little side story. So me and JJ have a mutual friend. He's one of the admins for my channel. He's one of the mods for my channel, but he lives in Japan. His name's Lito. And so like last week, Lito was doing a live stream on my channel. I mean, on his channel. And so JJ kind of calls me out. He's like, Anthony, he's like, when are we going to see some live streams from Utah? And I'm like, when the weather warms up, because it's snowing right now. And so I knew that JJ would call me on this. I knew.
Man, I was doing live streams around my town. And the thing is, I said to Lito that I would never do it because what he doesn't understand is it's a small town and everybody knows me. So I'm scared I'm going to walk around the corner and I'm going to bump into school friends. And I'm in the middle of a live stream and I know it's going to be a crazy conversation. I'm like, sorry guys, I'm going to have to cut this short because I just met such and such. I won't get out, but I was lucky. I was quite lucky. I think maybe you're feeling the same. Maybe you'll bump into people you know. Just do it, dude. Just do it. Get out there.
Yeah.
Get out in the street.
But going back to that, and I'm planning on doing some live streams here on my phone. So I promise.
Yeah, man.
But I just wanted to give a few shout outs just so in case they're still here. So we had Annette that came by earlier and she said, hi, JJ.
Hi, hiya. Sorry.
And of course, you got
hey.
Those are two of my Clubhouse peeps. I met them through Clubhouse. Same with Mark. But really, today was an awesome day for Apple. I loved the event. Like I was just like a little kid in a candy store.
Yeah, man.
Honestly,
I mean, even if we're not within the means to grab something, it's exciting and, for lack of sounding cliche, inspiring, man. Like that got me pretty amped. I'm like, oh snap, right? Like it's wow. Like what this means for everyone else and how it's going to be used and implemented, and just real super exciting. And I feel bad for Intel.
And, yeah, I feel really bad for Intel. And for those watching on the replay, they did announce one other thing that Mark and I forgot to mention, is that those of you who are Major League Baseball fans who like to watch baseball, Apple just announced today that there's going to be some two Major League Baseball games you'll be able to catch weekly only on the Apple TV app, which I thought was impressive. I don't watch much baseball.
Right.
I thought that was impressive that they were able to negotiate such a deal with Major League Baseball to be able to utilize that in their app. And it's just a matter of time until they have their own cable service.
It's an easy sell. It's an easy sell for Apple because all they just say is like, we wanted to have 2 of your games every week. They're like, oh, what's in it for us? Apple products, guys. Apple products.
All right, come on now. Yeah, what's the fine print there, if any? What's the deal? Because I know you can get some. There's Apple TV, which is the non-paid, right? And then Apple TV Plus that's where you have to sign up for a subscription and pay every month. So is this something that anybody can get with, whether they're a member or not? And then I guess it's two. Do they have exclusive rights to the games, or are they in addition to like regular TV?
No, I think they'll be exclusive because I know that Amazon Prime do the same thing over here with the English Premiership.
Like they'll black out everything else and have only that game.
They basically they buy the license to 2 or 3 games a month or 4
Yeah.
games a month Amazon Prime gets, and that for the English Premiership, and that is like huge. It's
Imagine
huge.
that. I mean, this is capitalism at its finest, right? Highest bidder type stuff to where.
Well, and I think that's kind of what Tim Cook was hinting at, that this was going to be an Apple Plus TV exclusive.
Yeah.
That's what I get grasped from it. That
Okay.
those who are big baseball fans, you're going to want to subscribe to this, and it wouldn't surprise me that in the future, if Apple does something, because I know that Disney Plus just announced that they're going to be doing a cheaper streaming service for
They have to.
people with like so you can watch a few commercials but still have the subscription. I wouldn't be surprised if in the future that Apple does something like that to make it more cost efficient for people, because that's always been one of the drawbacks with a lot of people, is especially when Apple TV first started, because they didn't have much content. But now that they're starting to have more like feature movies that you can only access on Apple Plus, a lot more people are starting to subscribe to their streaming platform. But it would not surprise me the slightest if even at I'll just say it right now, it wouldn't surprise me if at the fall event for 2022 that Tim Cook announces that they're going to have a more affordable streaming cost for people to watch a few commercials in between like shows. It wouldn't surprise me.
What about a Siri voice plan and also a Siri iPhone? Same thing.
Yeah.
No buttons, no nothing. This is all you have to tell Siri what to do, and she'll do
Or
it.
a date with Siri, a real date with the person who does the voice of Siri.
I was checking here. I forgot I loaded up the iPhone SE. Did it get a price hike? What was the SE at?
I don't remember what the price was.
It's $429 on here. The cheapest.
That's the cheapest.
For the 64 gigs, it's $429 in any color.
I mean, that's not surprising.
Wasn't it? Was it $3 something? Wasn't it $349 or $350? Was it $400? Because even still, that's a $29 increase.
I think it was $399 before.
Ooh, what was the highest then? Because you got $579 here to top out for the 256. Wow. And the rumors were saying what? Maybe Apple's first sub $200, $199 phone.
Yeah, that won't ever happen.
The price went up. Did they mention price for the SE? No, right? Did they skip that? I think they skipped that.
Matt just said it was $399 because he's that guy that's a phone salesman. It was $399.
The opposite. This was just like the Apple Watch square design rumors. They're like now rounder than before, even more rounder. We couldn't make it more rounder if we tried, folks.
So just before we end the stream, for those just joining or watching on the replay. So the things they announced they announced a Mac Studio, they also announced Studio Display, immersive 24-inch 5K Retina display.
27, I think.
Huh?
27.
27.
It's going to cost a fortune, man. It's going to cost a fortune. 27-inch
5K Retina display. The Mac Studio, an outrageous performance of M1 Max or all new Ultra M1 chips, stunningly intact design, extensive connectivity. They announced a new iPad Air, the new iPhone SE, which is now $429.99, starting out, as Mark just mentioned. They announced a new color for the iPhone 13 and 13 Pro. They haven't signified if it's going to be on the Mini or on the Max yet. They didn't really talk about that. And they also introduced and announced the M1 Ultra chip, which is going to greatly improve people's productivity, especially those of us who are content creators. That being said, it's going to cost a pretty penny, especially for that Mac Studio. It's starting out at $3,999, so $4,000 plus tax.
I'm not going to take your Mac Studio.
That's for the Ultra.
Adobe.
The Max is $2,000, right? So $2,000 or $4,000, depending if you want.
Yeah,
Max or the Max
storage
or the Maxist.
So all in all, what grade would you guys give the Apple event for today?
Oh man, to me personally, A, dude.
You maxed it. You give it a max.
Yeah. Oh yeah. This was
okay. I'm gonna get a 9.5 just for the sake.
They finished strong. They finished so strong. Are you judging them because they talked about the SE and Apple TV stuff you don't care about? Come on, man.
Apple TV because I just don't believe in subscription-based stuff. I think people should
I went based on level of excitement. Like,
okay.
What was your?
I I'll give it a
No.
10 for excitement, but I'm going to get a 9.5 for the other parts.
Okay.
That's it.
What was your
Okay.
aha moment that you enjoyed that just completely caught you off guard? That's the question I would ask.
I think it was a chip, to be honest. The chip
When they
did.
were, right before they were like, and we're not done yet with M1.
Yeah.
Like we've got one more
That was
thing.
a moment for me too.
I was like, what? Because what was missing and what a lot of people expected, it's like I like a Mac Mini. I already have my peripherals, this, that, this. Just remove this, and boom, you have, you just extended the life of your investments that you already have. You don't need to get a new this, new that, right? Because with all-in-ones, you have to replace the whole thing, or a lot of times, like we mentioned, replacing makes more sense than repairing.
Yeah.
So with these people that are like, you know what, if I could just get my hands on the M1 Pro and the M1 Max in that form factor, boom, perfect. So like, that's all anyone ever was really like hoping and fingers crossed for. And then this behemoth of a chip period, let alone that the leakers were, score one for the leakers this time on that design and what have you. It was just, I don't know. I didn't expect to see it this early, if at all. Like,
I don't think Mark's going to sleep tonight. I think Mark's going to be staying up all night thinking about this.
Yeah, I know what he would be doing if I was him. This reminds me when I first ordered the MacBook, where I was like, okay, which credit cards have how much credit on them, and who else is going to gift cards? And man,
Oh wow.
what about you, Anthony?
I have to give this a 10, an A plus, like an A, because like I was going into this not anticipating many updates. I was of course going to watch it because this is part of my niche in my channel.
Yeah,
text stuff, but I was
as
not
a fan, right? I mean, that's why.
Yeah,
because I had nothing on the line personally. That's where I was able to step out of that critical consumer. Okay, here's what I know what I want, and I'm in a position to buy, and I'm ready to go, and they better deliver. Like, so I was able to remove myself from that and just be along for the ride. So
yeah, no, I completely agree, and I think going forward, I think that we have a lot to be excited about from Apple. But really, all in all, it was a great event. Those watching on the replay, make sure you comment below what you are most looking forward to with the new products that Apple has announced. I know for me personally, I think I'm most looking forward to the Apple Studio. I think that was probably one of the coolest features, that and the M1 Ultra chip. Those were my two most favorite things they announced. But any final thoughts, guys, before we end?
Oh no, I'm good on my side.
Oh, that's it. Till the next one.
Yeah.
All right. To all those who have watched live and those who are watching on the replay, thanks for joining. And
thank you for having me on.
Make sure you guys subscribe to both Mark and JJ's YouTube channels, and we're all in this together. So
exactly. And if you ever come to Scotland, look me up and I'll be your host. I'll be your host, man. I'll show you around. You even got a place to crash if you need somewhere to stay. Just come over, man. Just enjoy yourself.
Look up Mark.
Yeah,
right,
definitely.
Yeah.
All right, guys. We are gonna end.
Right.
All right.
Peace.
See you guys.
Peace.
Woo-hoo.